I'm SP from Better Podcasting, a show dedicated to help make your podcast better. And it is part of the GonnaGeek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other insightful and wonderful geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
This is the official GonnaGeek.com show. Here we run down the latest news and happenings in the world of geek. These are your hosts for the show, Steven, Chris, and SP.
Welcome to episode 419 of the official GonnaGeek Show. I am Steven, and I am pleased to say Chris Farrell's here.
I know all the good words in lingo.
I'm also proud to say the master linguist, SP, is here.
You know, I can't believe after 419 episodes that Steven still misspells about half of his show notes.
Are we talking the public-facing ones or the behind-the-scene ones or both?
The behind the scenes, the ones I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, I typed them on a tablet while I was working. I mean, I did not do that.
It's because he speaks the Queen's English, not our English.
Well, it would be better for him to speak the King's English.
He does not acknowledge the king. He only acknowledges the Queen.
I mean, I would only acknowledge
she still
Meghan
lives.
Markle. Yeah,
Listen.
exactly.
All them royalties are stuffed and embalmed, rotting away in some horrid smelling crypt beneath a church. It's
Stephen,
true.
Queen Elizabeth's not dead. She just had her brain transferred into Charles. And
That's
when that shell dies,
I
she'll
don't-
transfer that brain to William.
No, she would not want to do that.
No,
And besides,
she did it.
Kate Middleton is here.
Wouldn't you? Never mind. I'm not going to make that joke. So if you... I was going to make a joke about the Queen wanting to get it with Kate Middleton, okay? Chris was looking puzzled for the audio listener.
That wasn't a good joke, so I'm glad you didn't do it.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
If you didn't know this, we're part of the official GonnaGeek Network, which is a thing, apparently.
We're part of the show, too, apparently.
We're
I mean,
part of the...
I'm just here on a contract for now, a free agent contract.
We're part of the
It's by the
GonnaGeek
minute.
Network. And on the GonnaGeek Network, we have a Discord server, which you should check out. It's at GonnaGeek.com/Discord. There is lots of amazing conversation that happens over there, including we have a deals and bargains channel. And now's when you want to get in there, because we're recording this on the 18th of November, and the Black Friday deals have already started. So you definitely should get yourself in there, because I know it's just going to blow up over the next few weeks, full of deal talk. So please come to our Discord and help contribute if you see anything. But also, if you want to just lurk, go ahead, just lurk, and you maybe you'll find a deal over there that somebody posts.
And
By
if
the
you
way-
like to chat where the skies are blue, I may or may not have a GonnaGeek starter pack linked to my profile so that you can find many of our other GonnaGeek Network friends over on the blue skies. So check me out at Chris Farrell there, and you can find those lists and starter packs for all the GonnaGeek members.
Oh, I forgot about the starter pack. Thank you for mentioning that. That's awesome. And I want to know, is it as good as the starter pack trading cards that we made for the GonnaGeek hosts, or what?
No, but it's as good as like the old 90s starter NBA jackets that everyone wore.
Oh, that's
Or like
awesome.
the team hats they had like the waves on it. Like the top half was white, and then it was like waves in the team color with like the team logo in the center. We had those for starter too.
All accounts have been followed. Sorry.
I wish we had a revenue stream, because those would be so sick to make. Those would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if someone wants to make them for us, we'll happily allow it. I'll even give you like $10 for it. 10 whole dollars.
10 whole
Canadian.
dollars. Whoa.
Canadian.
So that's
Wow.
like 20 cents American.
And a coffee from Timmy's.
Wow. That's going to be really cold by the time it gets there.
Yeah,
Mine
that'll
is
be iced coffee.
Mine is still, we still have them, and it is, we've discussed this before, and I've measured it on the map, Steven. Mine is closer to my house than yours is to yours.
That's very
Doesn't-
true.
Doesn't Timmy's own Burger King now too? So technically I could just give you a Burger King coffee.
Yeah, they're all, I think it's actually technically a company headquartered in Canada that owns Burger King. But
It's like the
not
whole
actually
Yum
a
brand
Canadian
thing.
company. Yeah, exactly. It's so bizarre.
Like Yum brand is 6 different restaurants. So you're like, oh, KFC and Taco Bell are the same? Interesting. I mean, it is a little bit.
There was was Dairy Queen in there? There was a third one in there. I can't remember what the anyway.
Long John Silver was it with that,
Maybe?
or was it Captain D's? No, A&W. It's
A&W. You're right. Hey, woohoo!
Fun fact about A&W, we have them up here. They're entirely different because apparently the history means that they're essentially 2 different restaurants.
We are saying A&W, not AEW. If you want to talk AEW, come to Blue Sky.
Do they sell Molson at your A&W?
No comment.
I mean, why would you drink Molson? It tastes like moose pee.
All right. Guess what's back? Back again.
Shady?
Internet's down. Tell a
You're
friend.
just holding it wrong, Steven.
That's true. If you didn't know this, it happened again, but this time we got more flare, more Cloudflare, that is. You might have caught a few weeks ago. By the way, somebody needs to start patting me on the back whenever I make terrible jokes, because I just don't get the groans that I used to get from you guys, and I feel like you have come down to my level because of that. And so I don't know, if you're gonna be down at my level, you should pat me on the back too. So
it's more, I feel like if I respond either positively or negatively, that reinforces it. So if I just accept that it's going to happen and let it roll over me, then I may just survive.
You're gonna have to at least take a shower before I'm willing to touch you.
All right.
Well, that's good to know. I guess I'm never getting in the shower again.
Can I join you in the shower? I mean, what? Whoa. Anyways, a few weeks ago on this show, we talked about a bunch of services on the interwebs being down, and that was caused by the AWS outage. Well, this morning, we woke up to a bunch of other problems, this time courtesy of Cloudflare. If you didn't know about Cloudflare, they're a major participant in the way web works. Web workings happen. I don't know. Basically, they have a bunch of CDNs and other services, because in addition to the CDN service and domain services, they also have quite a bit to do with cybersecurity as far as web services go. A lot of people use those. So the issue all started with Cloudflare during their overnight maintenance window on today, November 18th. And the statement they posted when they identified the problem was, quote, Cloudflare is experiencing an internal service degradation. Some services may be intermittently implemented. No, I typoed that wrong. Anyways, impacted. End quote.
I thought it was implanted. We were going to implant services into people.
Some of the major websites that you might have seen having issue include ChatGPT, Take That AI, Shopify, X, Canva, and a whole bunch of others. Honestly, to create a whole comprehensive list would be impossible, just like it would have been with the AWS outage. But there are way too many services that use Cloudflare and were affected. Now, here's the thing that you might want to think about as far as how this Cloudflare impacted web services, because it is more than just the CDN that web services rely on. And an example of a service that some people use is their tunnel service. I actually use that myself. So for me, one of the things that I do is, in order to cheap out on managing my remote smart trailer, I use a Cloudflare tunnel to be able to go in and access some of the information and my Home Assistant instance there through a Cloudflare tunnel. I don't use it for my personal home, but I do use it for there. And as soon as I read the issue, I thought I'll go ahead and try to access it. And I did get an error. So just that tunnel portion was impacted by the Cloudflare issue. Now, the other thing that I came across with this is a site that said that 20% of all websites rely on Cloudflare services in some form. So even if they're not using that CDN, there may have been other issues that did affect the back end, like if they were using the tunnel or maybe even the front end, if they were relying on those Cloudflare services. They did get it resolved pretty shortly, but they acknowledged that it would take some time for everything to get back online as everything sort of rebooted up. Definitely saw a few quirks around the interwebs today. I did have somebody tell me that there was an issue with, I believe it was Git today. So I think Git had some issues, and I'm just double checking. Yeah, it was. So I don't know if that was related to Cloudflare, but I can't help but think the timing is too coincidental. But if you saw issues today, that is why. So there you go. There's another mass internet outage. And given how often these things seem to happen, I have to admit, I think this is creeping into non-news territory because it is so frequent, which makes me ask the question, do we think it's acceptable to become normal to have this many regular outages on mass internet services? And do you think it's acceptable for like really only like 3 or 4 companies to have the bulk of internet services and being the ones responsible for keeping things online? Because I say internet services, but now I guess I should use the term cloud services because that's the way that everybody describes everything now. Anyway, so I want to know, what do you guys think? Is it non-news? Do you think it's acceptable to be normal? Do you think that we should have more players involved in this sort of stuff?
It has become normalized, which is disturbing because this is not something that should be a normal thing. It's not something that we should be accepting. And honestly, it's against the spirit of what the internet is supposed to be. It's supposed to be distributed so that things like this don't take out a bunch of services. Instead, it's, okay, well, since we've got 4 different providers, that means roughly a quarter of anything I'm trying to do is no longer accessible if one of them have issues. It's just the consolidation of internet for money.
Yeah, and I think this Cloudflare one is really interesting because it highlights how this, what do you call it? Accumulation of services by companies or basically companies having services under one umbrella is becoming a bigger problem. You know, it used to be that you had this CDN company or you had people on this hosting and most of their stuff was responsible by that company. But now you have company using this CDN combined with this security system, and they all need to be online at the same time. And if any of them break, it all goes wrong. Not to mention when you think about things like single sign-on.
Remember, one of the things that was touted of, here's why you need to use AWS because of our incredible uptime. Well, you're not seeing that incredible uptime for them and for other services too. So the real question is, why? Well, I'll hazard a guess for you, because we're firing engineers with the thought that AI can do it for us. Yeah, we're not quite there yet. You need people that understand how these things work. You can't just throw it to the machine and be like, fix yourself.
How about you, SP?
You guys don't like vibe coding? I mean, vibe coding is getting in the vibe, getting the groove. Oh, look,
it's a real vibe.
If these outages, I mean, if the government shuts down for 43 days and nobody cares, you know, the internet going down for a little bit is not going to really bother people, right? I mean, if Lipson goes down for a few days, nobody cares, right?
But how will I know what Tay-Tay's up to?
Just buy her hokas.
How will I understand what her fiance's privates look like if I can't listen to her music?
Just watch a football game, Chris. You can see right there.
Yeah, they're there. How am I going to watch football if I got no internet, SP?
Well, you can record it in your mind. Use your imagination. Do you
Look, I'm like Homer Simpson, SP. Anytime I learn something new or retain something new, it pushes something old out of my head. So the real question is Is it worth losing a memory of something from when I was 5 years old to remember the song Wood?
Yes.
Probably not.
But I mean, if you want to be a fan of Haley Steinfeld and watch Ender's Game and Pitch Perfect 2 and 3 and all that's, I think you should go that route instead.
I just realized I've probably made the Swifties come after me, which was not my intent.
Oh, you are so in their target. The Swifties are going to break down the GonnaGeek Show.
By the way, his name is Chris Farrell. You can find him at Chris Farrell.
He lives in West Virginia.
So I'd love to know what our audience thinks. If you have anything about this, please come to our Discord at GonnaGeek.com/Discord and let us know if you experienced any issues. Actually, SP, I think you only cracked a joke. Go ahead. Do you have any other thoughts about this? Sorry, before I segue off this.
The jokes are really, guys. I mean, people are experiencing outages with every utility or every service these days. People get mildly upset about it, but let's face it, unless it really impacts you, like if it brought down the GPS app that you were using to go to a place for work, like if you were on work travel or something and you didn't know where you were going and it affected you, that's going to make you kind of mad. Or you might pick up the phone to call them for directions if the phone actually works. It might not. It depends on what kind of an outage
You
it
want
is.
me to talk to someone on a phone?
I know. It's like the death sentence for the youngins these days, isn't it?
I'm not even exaggerating here. Let's say that you took somebody, let's go, and I'm not trying to be ageist here, but let's go 19 or younger. That seems like the area. 19 or younger. And you said, I need you to get, well, actually, let's make them driving age. So between 16 and 19, and you say, I need you to get to this location. And then you purposely broke their mapping software partway. Do you think that they would actually think I could call somebody for directions because they have grown up just with the ability of like, let me put this in and texting? Do you think that they would actually think like, I can ask, where do I go? And I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just thinking like, it's just not like you ask me how I use an abacus. I can't tell you.
Yeah, I mean, gone are the days now where if you're lost, you stop at the gas station, like, hey, how do I get to Plum Street?
Yeah.
You don't do it anymore.
Exactly.
All you have to do if you want to take over the world from the millennials is write your war plans in cursive and use actual maps.
No, millennials had to learn cursive. It's the generation after.
I was going to say millennials, we have kids, some of us grandkids. But anywho.
Yeah, I do have a grandkid,
Steven?
yeah.
Let's go on to the next news point here, which I think is about BO escapades. Is that right? BO escapades, SP?
I do not.
It was kind of smelly. They burned a lot of methane. They did.
Beans.
So we talked about it. We've been talking about Starship quite a bit because they've had 11 flights and we've been detailing every single flight as it went along the way. I have been, because I'm a rocket scientist and I love space and I love rockets and all that jazz. Well, last week, and we led up to it because they were doing a test earlier, but last week on Thursday, November 13th, 2025 at 3:55 p.m. Eastern Time, Blue Origin, or BO as Stephen calls them, launched its second New Glenn booster from Launch Complex 36 in several firsts for both NASA and the company. Now, originally scheduled for November 9th, but it was scrubbed to weather after a Carnival cruise ship violated the Marine Keep-Out Zone, and later rescheduled once again to avoid one of the most dangerous solar storms of 2025. By the way, it was an X5.1 class solar flare, and beautiful. Stephen, did you see the Northern Lights from that? Just out of curiosity.
I could have, but it was extraordinarily cloudy.
It sounds like Ohio. So the launch on November 13th was just in time to be obscured by many fans who were watching it from the Port Canaveral levee by the Carnival Freedom cruise ship as it departed Port Canaveral. So 2 times Carnival has ditched Blue Origin, congratulations, Carnival. You're on Amazon's crap list. Let's see you get spare parts on a timely manner now. So NASA was the first paying customer for the New Glenn and the rocket's second launch ever. The first was in January of 2025. So they've had 2 launches, both in 2025. NASA launched the twin Escapade spacecraft. We talked about them before, the Escape and Plasma Acceleration and Dynamics Explorers, which are designed for a unique journey to Mars. The pair of spacecraft are going to loiter at the L2 Lagrange point near Earth. By the way, that is right next to the James Webb Space Telescope. So they'll be able to wave and say hi on their way out. And then in October of 2026, the Escapade pair of spacecraft will fly in tandem to Mars, the first ever tandem flight to another planet. Once at Mars, the twins will perform science to help to determine how the planet lost most of its atmosphere. And Escapade was designed and built by the startup Rocket Lab of Los Angeles, California. And Rocket Lab also has a rocket. We'll talk about them in a future show, I'm sure. Anyway, at T plus 9 minutes and 9 seconds, New Glenn's Never Tell Me the Odds booster. They're actually naming their first stage booster. So instead of booster 15 or 14, they actually gave it a name. Never Tell Me the Odds. The booster successfully landed. Yeah, right. The booster successfully landed and explosively secured itself to the deck of landing vessel platform 1 Jacqueline. Did you guys see any of the landing?
Afterwards,
No.
yes.
Did you guys see how it explosively attached itself to Jacqueline?
No, I don't think I did.
So the
I
booster
need to go watch it.
Wait.
Yeah, so the booster came down. It actually did not come down straight on the landing platform because if it failed, they didn't want to take out the ship. So it went off to the side and then it hovered and translated over, came down, landed perfectly square center on the ship. And once it was down, apparently I didn't know it was going to do this. So it was like, whoa, it explosively nailed itself to the ship's surface. It had explosive bolts that went down and secured itself. Well,
no,
cool
I didn't see that
you have
part.
to, reuse the ship or maybe unbolt the booster from the ship or whatever. It doesn't really lend to rapid reusability, but it's going to be reused. So that's good.
Or hear me out, next time you send the ship along with it.
I think there's enough thrust to do that. And the rocket engines would burn a hole through the ship and the whole thing would explode.
Sounds like an engineering problem.
I'm sure it could be done.
Let's ask AI.
This is vibe coded. So Jacqueline and Never Tell Me the Odds return to Port Canaveral today, Tuesday, the 18th of November, 2025, in triumph. Now, Blue Origin CEO Dave Limp has declared, quote, full mission success, unquote. Now, Never Tell Me the Odds is slated to launch Blue Origin's prototype NK-1 lunar lander to the moon in January 2026 and beat who to the moon? Who are they going to beat to the moon, guys?
Me?
Well,
China.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they've landed on the moon, but this will be uncrewed, so nobody on it. But who are they going to beat to the moon? Who's also trying to make a lunar lander?
You?
From a big
Lockheed.
rocket? Well, I mean, I would love to. It'd be out of Legos right now. No, it's not Lockheed.
Boeing?
It's not Boeing. It's not Boeing. Boeing. It's not Boeing. Are you guys playing with me?
Space Y?
Exactly, it's Space Y.
I thought it was Space Z. Excuse me, I gotta say it in your native tongue.
You are exactly right. Space Y, Space Z, Space Zulu, whatever you want to call that company. It starts with a space and ends with a letter. So yes, that's what we're talking about. So they did, or they will beat, if this is successful, that other company, Blue Origin, will beat the other company. So here's my question for you guys, since we're doing questions at the end of these news stories. Were you guys excited for this mission?
Sorry, there was a mission.
Yeah, that's what I mean, you didn't see the landing, so I kind of figured who cares? Somebody's done this before. Who cares if somebody else does it?
I actually didn't see it live, but I did see it afterwards. I did not realize the whole bolt thing. I watched it up to the point that it landed, and then I didn't realize that, but I was a little irritated that the video kind of cut out there as it was coming to land. But I did see enough to say this, it was, maybe I'm wrong. To me, it looked.
You're wrong.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Well, we're going to wrap things up.
No, I think that it looked a lot gentler of a landing than how SpaceX does it. Like, it looked more like a New Shepard.
It did, because that's the same technology that they're using. I haven't seen full motion close-up video. I've seen far up video. Yeah. I don't know if they lost the drones, maybe, that were lost in the rocket wash, or if they didn't have any video on board the ship, or I'm not sure exactly what happened, but I haven't seen anything close up yet.
CGI. Chris, what do you want to answer the question?
I was very excited, so much so that I repressed all memory and knowledge of it happening so that I could experience it fresh once it was brought to me upon removing my repression.
Okay, so here's the deal from my standpoint. I was actually having a meeting with my boss in the conference room with it was a normal update meeting, and it was supposed to happen right when the launch and landing was going to happen. So we printed out slides for everybody. We put slides on and it was, oh, you printed out slides this time. Yep. And I had one of my employees actually bring up the video on the screen. It was, big screen in the conference room. Is yeah, we were going, and I was actually talking as it was getting down to zero. I wasn't like counting the mission or anything, but I was talking and I was going to stop and I was going to, but right as it went to like 3, 2, hold, I was like literally under my breath, in the meeting with my boss, said, sandwich. And he just looked at me, he chuckled. He's like, yeah, because it happens all the time, right? So anyway, we kept the video up, and it did not happen during our meeting. It happened about 35 minutes later after it was supposed to launch and after our meeting. Because I was in transition away from that meeting to another meeting, I didn't get to see it live. So I had to wait until I got home to see it as well. I've seen it a couple of times. I'm disappointed about the translation of not being able to see it up close. Yeah. They have I think it was from their tow vessel. They have people that videoed it from very, very far away, and it looks like from their cell phones, and they released that. And I was like, why are you guys releasing that? It's because they don't have close-up video. And I don't know why, but they don't.
That's a shame.
Anyway, I know it's incredible what they pulled off. You guys are entirely right. It looked softer than Falcon 9. Here's the deal, though. With Falcon 9, they cut the margins so they don't have any extra propellant on board, and they can launch the biggest amount of mass. So when they come down, it is literally what is the margin of how little rocket fuel that we need to actually land this successfully. That's what they've done over hundreds and hundreds of launches. I think there are over 250 launches by now. I can't remember the exact. Yeah, it's incredible, right? And what Blue Origin did is they lost some performance on their launch because they didn't know how much thrust that they needed. They didn't know it was going to be successful. They did it on the second try, guys.
Yeah,
it
that's
took Elon Musk like 11 or 12 tries before they nailed it. So
fair point.
Good on Amazon or Jeff Bezos. Good on Blue Origin.
Nice.
For doing this, right? And seriously, I love the fact that we have 2 orbital class rockets that can do this, and potentially a third now with Starship. I can't call Starship an orbital class rocket yet because it has not achieved orbit.
I do have a question in the realm of the whole private sector aspect of this. The first is, do you know if Blue Origin has benefited from SpaceX, as in taking employees, sort of thing?
Oh, probably. So from what I understand because I was in the job market about a year ago, and I was looking around and everything, and I was thinking about applying to Blue Origin. I did not at the time because I was skeptical about the company's future. And I wish I would have just dove in, because they're on for one heck of, from now on, they're on one heck of a ride. They've got a leg up right now on Starship. They've got the biggest payload capability because the fairing is the biggest size. When you take a look at Starship, it's that little Pez dispenser, and it's really only meant to shoot out the Starlink satellites, which are small in comparison. The Blue Origin is meant for a big, huge payload. So until Starship gets a more like shuttle payload bay doors in it or whatever, Blue Origin is going to be the biggest lift capability that we have for rapid reusable flight. And it is kind of the second biggest rocket we have in inventory right now. So yeah, this is transformative, guys. This is exciting times that you live in and you don't know it.
And that actually goes to my second point here, which is like, I think I'll only speak for myself, but I think I am like a average person plus as far as interest in space stuff goes, plus. Right? As far as interest in space and paying attention to that sort of stuff happens, right? I'm not your average Joe who isn't seeking it out. Like I definitely am, but I'm also not anywhere near in your realm, right? So do you think, back to the video thing, do you think that at some point here, Blue Origin and others, Boeing, for example, do you think that they are going to realize that things like video is a marketing thing? It helps provide confidence in a product. It helps support your product. It shows people more transparency about your product. And when you have SpaceX, who now is pretty damn flawless as far as offering video goes and seeing every nook and cranny of every landing, and then you have in comparison, substandard product, it doesn't make your company look as on the same level, I guess, toe to toe as your competitor. Like for me, how often have I just been here back to my whole average plus thing? I've been like, you know what? I think SpaceX is miles ahead of everybody because it's all that I really know. But if I am seeing all of these things that are making me go, oh, look, I just saw something in the exact same quality as SpaceX do with better. Now it's better for your name as far as marketing goes.
So I have some thoughts on that. First of all, it really only matters for high visibility missions. Like, let me ask you guys this. I just said they've launched, 250 rockets. Actually, I think it's closer to 500. But anyway, they've launched hundreds of rockets. When's the last time you guys have streamed a Falcon 9 or watched later a replay of a Falcon 9 launch and recovery? When's the last time you did that?
Not unless
catch clips on social media. That's really about it.
Yeah. So it's like an airline, really. There are people that go out and take pictures of all these planes, but most of society could care less about where a plane is until like something happens with like MH370 or something like that. Okay, when's the last time anybody got a picture of that plane? And then that photo actually sells for something to the news for, I don't know, hundreds of dollars, not anything worthwhile really, but that's it. And nobody cares. Planes go up, planes go down. Nobody cares. Rockets, it's going to get to that point if it hasn't already. And with established rockets. So if you bring a new rocket in, like everybody cares, like the new NASA X-59, the supersonic jet, right? So, okay, that flew for the first time. We all saw a video of it. Nobody streamed it live that I know of, but you saw a video of it, right? And okay. Do you care about it since then? No. So it's for notable things. This was notable because it was the first time they tried to catch it. It was the first twin spacecraft launched to Mars, and it was the first spacecraft launched to Mars to park in a Lagrange point so you don't have to time the launch. It's just waiting for the transit window. That's what's important about this. The cool. three important things about this, and they were able to pull it off. So everybody was really excited about it because that, and I will add a fourth thing. Finally, there's a competitor for SpaceX. Finally, somebody is starting to do that, right? So
competition is good. It's the simplest thing.
Yeah,
in
it's going to
economics
go
and stuff.
worldwide. There's going to be more companies or more governments worldwide that do
Good,
this
yeah.
sort of thing. So it's going to get sporty up there. It's going to get crowded in space, but that's a problem for future us. But it's coming sooner than it will come in my lifetime. Like I've been quipping and joking, like I'm getting old. I've only got so much time. I've got time enough to see that, and it's coming faster than anybody ever thinks. And the moon is coming faster than anybody thinks. We're thinking it's far off, guys. In 3 months, we're going to launch humans to go around the moon again. It's not that far off.
Again. Haha.
Again. Right. But it's been 50 years. So we're going to do it again.
Or has it?
Exactly. Again.
All right. Fair.
And by the way, Steven's plotting to drop a moon base on your house so that you don't get to see these things. So you best prepare.
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen enough space junk come down in the last couple of weeks. That was fun. Like the one that came down in Florida. It was like,
I told Steven to stop launching his bags of trash into space, but he said it's cheaper than paying the trash man.
It is.
And I went, okay, Steven, you do you.
Union wages, man. They're expensive. No.
It's a good incinerator as it's coming back down.
All right. So Chris told me he has a leaky valve in it or something like that. Is that what you were telling me about?
It's in my brain, and all my brain goo leaks out.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I thought it was in your HVAC system.
No, it just don't work. I'm on the emergency heat right now. That's expensive. No, we are going to talk about Valve, though. For those that are familiar or not familiar, rather, Valve is the company that makes Steam, kind of the preeminent place to buy digital PC games or digital computer games on the internet. They also have dipped their toes into hardware a few different times, most recently with the Steam Deck, which I've talked about my Steam Deck experience just in passing on this show. I've enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would. But why are we talking Valve today? Well, last week they announced some new hardware, and not just one thing coming. We got 3 announcements from Valve. Let's talk about what those are. First is the Steam Frame, a new wireless VR headset that is a standalone set that does not require a massive computer to be able to process and do things. They announced the Steam Machine, a compact living room gaming box, and then the Steam controller. And before you start thinking, oh, they already did that, this is a new Steam controller. It is not the old one that was announced and showcased, probably about a decade ago at this point, where instead of having thumbsticks, it was just touchpads. And for those that were paying attention to that, you've seen that kind of become their test case for how they've implemented touchpads on the Steam Deck itself and on the new Steam controller. Now, out of these 3 things, arguably the biggest thing to the tech sphere is the Steam Frame, which is the VR headset. But I'm not sold on VR, so I don't want to talk about it much other than to say, hey, it looks cool if VR is your jam. Folks like Linus on Linus Tech Tips and other tech bloggers and tech video influencers have been talking about how this is potentially a game changer for VR. Here's the problem. I still don't really give a crap about VR. So go talk to and go find people who are better equipped to talk about VR. It looks cool, but I'm not well equipped to talk about it because I frankly just don't care. What I do want to talk about is the Steam machine. Can I just say, though,
I am sad.
Go ahead.
Not to interrupt, but I'm kind of sad that Steam Frame is not just a photo frame.
That has steam coming out of the top of it?
Yes, exactly.
Like a choo-choo train?
Yes, exactly.
Little clouds of steam?
Yeah.
Sorry. So what I am interested the most in is the Steam Machine, probably because it is like a Steam Deck on steroids, for lack of a better term. This is going to be a simple black box that can fit easily in with the rest of your consoles or the rest of your boxes and just kind of look not noticeable. It's like the all-black GameCube almost, but smaller. So let's talk specs on the Steam Machine. It is a custom AMD Zen 4 6-core processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and I do believe when Linus did his teardown of a demo unit, they found out that RAM is soldered in there, so it is not user-replaceable RAM. There's a semi-custom AMD RDNA 3 GPU with 8 gigs of VRAM. You can get it in a variety of storage combinations. The 2 that we're talking most about were 512 gigs of storage or 2 terabytes of storage. The OS, of course, is Steam OS that it runs. It is not Windows, not Mac OS, nothing like that. We were not given a price, and we were given a release window of early 2026. When you go and look at the simple black box, it is the Steam machine. There is a few ports on the front, including USB Type-C, and on the back, you have HDMI 2.0 DisplayPort, and there is also a micro SD card slot on the front. Why is that there? Because they want to make it so you can put a game on a micro SD card, move it between your Steam machine, your Steam Deck, your Steam Frame, basically treat your downloaded games like cartridges that you can take to whatever system you want, so that you don't necessarily have to download it on 3 different machines. You just pull the SD card out and plug it in. And let's be honest, SD card storage is pretty dang cheap, so that's not unreasonable. And Kent does point out in the chat room, speaking about the Steam machine, the RAM was soldered, but the drive is user replaceable. And much like with the Steam Deck and things like that, I'm sure they'll put the drivers and images online so that if you want to make changes, you can then re-image the machine, things like that. They did say the 6-core GPU and 28 CU GPU offers 6 times more performance than the Steam Deck. The GPU is semi-custom. It has no exact match in AMD's lineup, but it's comparable to the RX 7400 is what they say to compare it to. So you can go look up specs on that and see how that would work. Like I mentioned before, like the Steam Deck, this is a Linux gaming machine. So what does that mean? Well, you can play Linux games by default with no problem. And for instance, Baldur's Gate 3 was recently just ported to Linux to run natively on Steam Deck. But all of those Windows games that you really enjoy, you can still play them just like you would on the Steam Deck. You're just using the Proton emulation software. And I have found that Proton works pretty well for a lot of Windows games on the Steam Deck. Now, the trade-off is your Steam Deck display is like 720p, roughly, so you're not having to push a bunch of pixels. If you're plugging the Steam machine into your 4K TV, that's a lot more pixels you're pushing, so that's probably why you've got, roughly the 6 times performance specs that they're touting between Steam Deck and Steam machine. They did also mention that the Steam controller will easily pair with the Steam machine. You can pair 4 at one time. So it gets us almost back to the old school days of plugging in 4 controllers on your N64 and playing with Smash Brothers and things like that. But you are not limited to the Steam controller. You can use any USB or Bluetooth controller. So that means your PS5 or Xbox controllers are fair game, both wireless and wired. Or you go third party and pick up something like one of the many different 8-bit do controllers that are out there that are all pretty good. All this hardware that Steam announced will be available in 2026. They listed a whole bunch of countries as coming to at launch, and Steven, it includes Canada. So you guys are not on the outside looking in when it comes to all of this hardware.
It includes Canada, but more importantly, does it include Quebec?
I don't think it delineated between, was it provinces?
Just to let you know, Chris, in case you didn't know, there's a lot of things that are okay for Canada, but not okay for Quebec.
They have some.
That's
they
fair.
have some laws there.
So one of the things they didn't mention on the Steam machine, they didn't talk about price. Now, Valve had said that pricing will be competitive based on the specs of the hardware. When you go and look at the hardware that's in there, that makes you go, ooh, that's $1K, $1.5K, somewhere in that range potentially. Let's go back and look at what the price of consoles are. Like a PlayStation 5 or a current gen Xbox, $600? Switch 2 is $500. I don't know. All right, what I want to ask you guys is, if you were thinking about getting a Steam machine, what's the sweet spot on price? And do you think they can actually hit that sweet spot?
$199 is a sweet spot.
Well, they're not hitting that.
Can they hit that? No, not at all.
I will not give a dollar figure. I will say whatever the going rate is for the PlayStation / Xbox at that time, because they fluctuate. I think that I didn't realize that. I actually didn't read your notes about this. I didn't realize they say that it's price based off of the comparable specs. I think that's a mistake. I think just like with handheld gaming devices, you need to realize that you are going to be compared to other devices of that use case. And so if I was so excited as you were going through this, going, things have been so good for the Steam Deck. Like this is the opportunity for us to have a three-way console war again, right? And the OS.
We don't
is
really
good.
even have a two-way one right now, though.
I guess not, but three-way console players again, or companies again, and I don't think that that's going to be the case if they are not realizing that their product's going to be compared to an Xbox and a PlayStation, whatever current at the time.
Yeah. See, this is fascinating to me because the most recent GonnaGeek that we did, I think I talked about the next gen Xbox, where we heard a lot of those things of it'll play Windows games, it'll play Xbox games, it'll play Steam games. They're looking at something that sounds on paper very similar to one of these Steam machines. Microsoft also did not mention anything about prices because obviously it's their next gen hardware. They haven't gotten there. We could sort of glean it from the fact that their ROG Ally X, like the top end one, was about $1,000. So people were thinking, hey, this new Xbox that's being envisioned that can run Steam games, Microsoft games for both Xbox and Windows and all of that, we could be looking at somewhere between $1,000 to $1,500. I mean, that kind of makes you think that Valve might be looking at something similar. And if they're out, say, a year or two ahead of time, you might be looking at a price drop when it comes up to that. I honestly don't know. I think it's incredibly compelling, though, because both Sony and Microsoft are publishing games on Steam right now. Like we were talking console war jokingly. It's kind of over, guys, because you're getting first-party games from both platforms on all of their competitors. We've got Halo coming to PlayStation. We had Helldivers come to Xbox. We've got the Spider-Man games that Sony put out coming to Steam or on Steam.
So I will combat you a little bit on that, Chris, where I think the console wars aren't the console itself, it's the service. How much are you paying?
I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the risk of starting a problem here, or a problem with your ATGN counterparts in the past, how do we think the controller is going to be? Because I know you said that you can use the other ones, but I think it matters what your native controller is and how it performs.
So the point is the native controller is not bundled with it. It's a separate cost, one thing to consider.
Oh, that's a mistake.
But is it? In today's world, almost everyone has a other controller of some kind that can work on it. So if you can save $60 off the sale of it because you don't bundle the controller in there, most people already have something they like. Now, the Steam controller does look cool. I thought the layout of it was interesting. And they do also bring the touchpads back like we saw in the Steam Deck that are used to play a lot of PC games where mouse and keyboard would be required. And it does surprisingly work pretty well. I've played some RTS games on my Steam Deck, and those made it doable at least versus impossible with a controller, but still not a comfortable experience.
You're right, because that's going to be the next thing that Sony and Microsoft do is not bundle them with a controller anymore. So yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah,
well,
it's like the charger with a cell phone.
Yeah.
I think it's tougher to do in consoles because traditionally that's always had a controller, whereas Valve is making a point of saying this is a computer, not a console.
And that's my point right there is what I was saying the first time is this is going to be seen as a console. Because of like the marketing material and everything, the pictures, they all talk about how you hook it up to your TV and stuff. Like, it's the average consumer is going to compare it with a console, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
Probably. I mean, it's going to be just like the Steam Deck. Remember when the Steam Deck came out, there was a lot of doubters. I think this is something that a year after launch, you look at and see what adoption has been and how it has spread. And plus, you're probably going to have supply chain constraints too, just because everything has those anymore.
So I got a couple of things. First of all, on the price scale, remember, guys, when cell phones used to be like $200 to $400, and now they're like $1,500 to $2,000. I think that's kind of where we are with consoles. Is that it's going to get more expensive to do console technology, especially with the video cards being as expensive as they are for the GPUs and that sort of stuff, right? So I think we're headed for a price increase over time. I know that the stereotypical thing is young family wants to get a gaming system for their kids, aka their dad, but the kids, right? And Stephen, you fell into this too, so don't even try to deny
that was the intention. I never actually ended up using it.
right, exactly, because we're too busy doing dad stuff. Anyway, I just see that creeping up and going up to the point where these consoles, which used to be in the $500 realm, will go into the $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 realm. That's just my opinion. The other thing that I think of is because of that, and because it's more portable to do those handheld consoles, you pick whatever it is. There's several out in the market, right, Chris? I think you've had most of them, if not all of them.
All in one.
I think those are going to be the replacement for consoles in the future, because they will just become some more powerful, or powerful enough to do all these games and to link in or cast or whatever to whatever screen that you're on. I think that's really going to be the future. I don't know how long it's going to take to get there, just because I'm not into the space maybe as much as you are, Chris, but I think it's coming, and I think it's coming within the next decade. I just can't tell you when that flex point is going to be, where the consoles themselves just get to be too expensive, and really what you're buying into is the service of where you interact with other people and that you store your games, whether it's Microsoft, PlayStation, Steam, whatever. I think that's where things are going, and the hardware is going to be mitigated.
Yeah, that's the Microsoft play, at least.
Oh, I think it's going to be reality. We are all loving our Blackberries back in the day, right? Or if you were fortunate to have one, and then these smartphones came along, and you're like, yeah, but I like the keyboard. And then keyboard went away, and everybody's
it's interesting though, because the Microsoft play is what you've described, but we're sort of seeing Sony and Nintendo both kind of double down on the traditional model. So the real question is Microsoft, remember Microsoft tried to do this with the Xbox One console to a lesser extent, is now the right time for Microsoft to pull the trigger and make that move? I'm very curious to see over the coming years how that works out.
So if you want to chat more about this, come to the gaming channel over in our Discord. Now, before we go to our segment, I got a quick extra summary. Logitech did have a privacy issue. They had a leak. Quote, Logitech International recently experienced a cybersecurity incident relating to the exfiltration of data. The cybersecurity incident has not impacted Logitech's products, business, operations, or manufacturing, end quote. Apparently, the data mostly included limited information about employees and consumers, but nothing sensitive, apparently. So if you did want to know more about this, you can look it up. There wasn't actually a ton of articles out there, but it just seems like it happens every day. I also think that it's a great example of the reason we should probably get rid of our harmonies, because they're not being patched, so who knows what nefarious things they're doing. And I want to know if you guys think that this is responsible for the elbow pain that I've been having since I switched to my vertical mouse, which I've stopped using because I was having some elbow pain. Do you think that it was related to this hack? Look at you.
Yes, they hacked your arm. It's a body hack.
Yeah, I got one.
Which one did
Mine's
you get?
Just a regular one.
I still have it.
The lift.
Oh, you got the lift.
I got the lift.
The lift is mine's bigger.
Size 15 shoes, ladies. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I haven't taken it back because I do want to hopefully go back and try it again, because I did quite like the lack of wrist soreness. But anyways, I just wanted to make a joke and say that my elbow is actually sore.
I'd be surprised if somebody hasn't tried to hack our harmonies for a nefarious purpose already. I do know, because I had weak passwords on it, both my vacuum, my robot vacuum, and my garage door were hacked. And I know this because they kept on going up. The garage door went up at some really weird times. And like my neighbors were like, you weren't home and your garage door was up. So I went over and closed it. And I was like, that's weird. Maybe somebody else has the garage code. Somebody else had the frequency, because that's happened to me before. Nope. It happened like 3 or 4 times. And then I kind of figured out, my it's a weak password. It's one that has been exposed. Somebody used it for that. So I, super duper changed the password on that. It's one of the detriments to having a smart garage door opener, by the way. And then my robot vacuum would like start at like 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what the fuck? Somebody's
Good
sitting
job,
in-
Steven.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Figured it was one of you. So it was hacked, and the only thing they could do is set it off in the middle of the night to annoy me. So I changed the password to a very strong password, and it hasn't happened since. I'm pretty sure the Harmony has also been hacked because my TVs keep on coming on in the middle of the night. But the detriment there is that they come on and nothing starts to play. It isn't an automatic on and then something plays. I have to go into an app to play something. And so I wake up in the morning and it's on. So obviously my Harmony has also been hacked. And now I changed my Logitech, and that was before this. So I'm going to have to change it again.
Maybe you have a ghost.
Scary ghost.
I mean, it's possible. I'm not going to say it's not, but then we're in the interstellar range. And that's pretty cool to think that I'm in a sci-fi movie.
Who are you going to call?
Well, the Ghostbusters are creating another movie with the original crew. So
I like how Bill Murray was like, I'm not doing another Ghostbuster movies because they've never been good. The scripts are all poor. And then he's done like a bunch of crappy ones. Anyways, let's move on to our next statement.
money, 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 money.
Oh, did I find myself in a predicament this past couple months?
Uh-oh.
Well, let's back up here. Because my son, for the audio
Which
listener,
one?
Chris is actually backing up. My youngest reached the age where my wife and I decided he was going to get his own phone. While he did have access to a phone, we made sure that it was very clear it was not his phone. So it was time
Did
for
he
him to
buy it with his own money? And if so,
Hold
what
your
sort?
horses. Hold your horses.
Okay.
Well, I'll get there.
He owns horses. Okay, now I know where
Exactly.
the money's coming from. Okay.
So he got his own phone, and he made it very clear that he was an iPhone guy. And so, he liked iPhones, and he really wanted an iPhone. So we did the whole hand-me-down thing. So he ended up getting an iPhone, and my wife got a different phone. And anyways, that whole thing happened. So I was also in the market for a phone, and things were changing. Pixel 10 just came out. The new iPhones came out. There were sales happening on prior models, and I was like, I think that I should get myself a new phone because there were some things about my old Galaxy S25 Ultra that I was ready to part with. I debated though what I wanted to do. Did I want to go iPhone? Did I want to stick with Samsung? Did I want to get back to the Pixel line? And so I had actually decided that things considered, was going to give the Pixel line a shot. Again. And that was because there was a really good deal on Pixel. Now I'll come back to that in a minute. Now, to talk a little bit about the Samsung versus Pixel comparison, there were some things that I did end up having to get used to when I went to Samsung because I'd been a long time Pixel fan, and I did eventually get used to them. One of the things that I was surprised was how well my first year of updates on the S23 happened. My S23 Ultra regularly did end up being updated in a timely manner. And that was something that I always loved about the Pixel, of course, was that you got security patches monthly. But some of the things I didn't like particularly on the S23 Ultra was, number one, it was a very rectangular profile. And I mean like not curved corners at all, actually rectangular and vertically rectangular, not horizontally, Chris. So it was a rectangle, and I found the corners a little annoying. The other thing is it had Victus 2 glass, which I will conclusively say sucks. I don't know why there's not more comments about it out there. I don't like it. It scratches really easily. It's the only phone I've ever had in recent where it has easily scratched over nothing. And I'm not alone. I have seen many reviews out there about this glass where it seems to scratch easily. The problem with the S23 Ultra is it had a curved screen on it, so you couldn't really put a good screen protector on. I tried. They all sucked. So anyways, these things combined with a couple other random things made me think, okay, it's time to get a new one. And so I did look basically between the iPhone 16 or 17 Pro Max or Pro, the Pixel 9 or 10 Pro or Pro XL, and an S25 Ultra. So the Pixel and the iPhone both had the physical profile that I wanted. They didn't have a curved screen. Actually, all of them didn't have a curved screen, but the Pixel and the iPhone had nice, good curved corners, excellent to hold, comfortable. And the S25 Ultra had more curved corners than the S23 Ultra, but nowhere near in the realm of the Pixel and the iPhone. The other consideration I had was the family being now split. As it currently stood, 2 iPhone users, 2 Android users, what was I going to do about that? How would that affect my considerations? So all said and done, I decided on getting a Pixel 9 Pro XL because there was an amazing deal on it. I did actually originally want to try the Pixel 9 Pro, but I did decide that it was too small. I'm now a large phone guy, apparently, and so
because you're a noob. You're not a pro.
It's true. I am a noob, so I needed the Pro XL. So I did buy a Pixel 9 Pro XL, and I loved the fingerprint reader definitely better than the
Is it under screen with that one?
Yeah, the Pixel 9 Pro is under screen. 9 Pro XL is under screen. I will say that it's faster than the Samsung one. It had good face unlock. I would say it's faster. And also it has class 3 face unlock as opposed to the Samsung one, which is class 2, which is important because some password managers, including the one that I use, does not allow class 2 face unlocks. So that was nice things about it. Now, I ran it for 2 weeks. There's lots that I liked, but going back to a stock Android experience, I'll say stock, big asterisks on that, but the Pixel Android experience, I did start to miss some Samsung things, but there were some things that I'm like, it's good to be home. It's good to have these Pixel things. And also the peace of mind of knowing that I was going to get Pixel drops all the time.
Did you miss Bixby?
I missed Bixby so much. No, I did not. So I ran that and enjoyed the Pixel goodness until I ran into a problem that it started to crash on me a couple of times and I had some issues. So long story short is I had bought it under contract. There was a 14-day buyer's remorse period, and I was pretty damn close to the 14 when this started to happen. And I couldn't shake the idea of, is this Pixel problems? And I don't mean that to be rude, because I know, Chris, you're a Pixel guy, but it was the things that drove me to Samsung originally 2 years ago, was there were some things that I just thought this is Pixel quirks. And so I couldn't shake that feeling. So I cried that I was losing out on a great deal. And I said, I got to take it back and reassess. And if I do go with Pixel, I will buy it outright so that I know if it is Pixel quirks, I'll just go ahead and sell it off. Well, a little bit later, short time after, as I went back to my S23 Ultra and went, oh, it was so nice to have a new phone, I ended up seeing an amazing deal on the S25 Ultra. Had a stupidly good deal to trade in my S23 Ultra. A ridiculous discount on it. A a stupidly good discount off of adding on a watch if I needed to. And well, there was something else that was in there to sweeten the deal even more. I don't remember what it was, but there was something else in there. And so I thought everything all over again. And in the end, I ended up choosing the S25 Ultra because the price was just that good. And there were some things, like I said, when I went to the Pixel that I did miss.
Did you get a watch with it?
I did. I haven't opened it yet because it might be a Christmas gift for myself, but we'll see.
Ooh. What was it, the Watch 8?
It was, yeah.
Nice.
But it was too good of a deal to pass up. But anyways, so I ended up deciding on getting the S25 Ultra because of all of these things, and it had a little bit curved corners that were more tolerable, and it had better glass. The thing that really made me, I went back and forth because I really was thinking, do I want to go back to the Pixel or not? And I couldn't find a good deal at that point at a Pixel 9 Pro XL outright and the Pixel 10s full price. The other thing was there was a couple of things with the Pixel 10 that were coming out because it was new that were quirky in the reviews. Some people were talking about some weird pictures not being processed in the front-facing camera. Some other random battery things, and I'm like, okay, they've changed in the Pixel 10. They changed who's making the chip. It's still their chip. It's still the Tensor chip, but they're changing who's making it. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that I want this to be the device that I go and give Pixel a shot again. If this is going to be, pardon me, the one where they work their way through some of these quirks. I also did like the cameras. That was something that I missed. I like the camera setup better on the Samsung with the Ultra having the 5 cameras versus the Pixel and the iPhone only having the 3. But I'm actually pretty happy with the choice that I made. There wasn't a huge amount of upgrades, I will say, going from the S23 Ultra to the S25 Ultra as far as bells and whistles went. Better camera. Obviously faster. It was a little bit lighter, which was nice. And that was one of the things that was a strike against the Pixel 10, was that it was more in line with my S23 Ultra weight. And when I went to the Pixel 9 Pro XL, I noticed the reduction in weight in my pocket. You look up the specs, you go, okay, that's not much, but I noticed the difference. And the Pixel 10 Pro XL is actually heavier. So was the latest iPhone too, just as an FYI. So I chose it, pretty happy with it. Has good glass on it, but I'm still not willing to chance it. So I did put a screen protector on it because, you know, after my experience last time, I did put one on because it is a flat screen. And I'm pretty happy. There are some quirks that I miss about not having the Pixel, even though it was only 2 weeks, which is that, you know, some of the apps, they're split between Samsung and Google stuff. The camera's a great example of that. If you want to use Google Photos as your cloud service, you kind of got to leave the Samsung Gallery app on there. Otherwise, they don't really sort that great in the Pixel. There are some things that I think do look better. Like I actually think that the overall menu and everything in the Samsung One UI is better than the Pixel One. I think that it's just, I don't know, a little more user friendly, but overall, I'm happy I went back. But still, I think that in the future, at some point, it would be nice to get back towards the Pixel. Now, with all of that said, I do want to just throw out here that I'm talking about the difference between the Samsung and the Pixel and how I ended up deciding on the Samsung for the reason that people know that I am a longtime Android user, and that was the sort of the decision I made, and I ended up comparing the two. But that is not to say I didn't seriously consider the iPhone. I really did.
Which one?
Either the 16 or the 17 Pro XL.
Okay.
One of those two, depending on the deals. I looked at both. Now, let me walk you through my decision tree on this, and you can go ahead and criticize it afterwards. I was definitely the closest that I've been to going back to iPhone than I have been in several upgrades. The big reasons I considered it was FaceTime. Now that there was 2 Apple users in my family, became more valuable for me. I'm on a Mac now, so the idea of desktop messaging was not possible when you have an iPhone and you want to do it from a PC. Could do it on the Mac. I do like that they have come the way of Android, iOS, and there's much more customization now on iOS than there ever used to be. So definitely closer to what I prefer on that. And the other thing too is from a family day-to-day perspective, now that my son has an iPhone, I had to think about administering that phone, and I can do it from my Mac. But the thing is, if I'm out and about or not near my Mac, I can't do that.
Excuse me, what?
I'm out and about. If I'm out and about, thank you for correcting me. I can't cover the administrating of that, so that falls to my wife who has the iPhone. So these were all things that I thought were pros to going that way. Plus, that there is the fact that Apple does continue to be the one that drives the market in certain add-ons and features. And I'm not necessarily saying innovate, but I'm saying that it remains. If a thing comes out, until Apple puts it into their phones, it seems like it doesn't really get its full momentum. Watches being a great example of that. What I will also say, and this was the biggest thing, this is the biggest pro that I could think about, is I think it would be super fun to have SP go and extract all of those clips that I ever said on this show of hating on iPhones just to throw it in my face. I think that was almost worth it in itself.
Yeah, I was pretty surprised when I heard you talking about that. But, I know you didn't choose one, so honestly, I tuned out. How are you liking your Pixel 9 XL Pro right now?
Well, let me finish my story before I tell you how I'm enjoying my S25 Ultra. Let me get to that first. So, it doesn't feel so good when I'm on this side of the table. Anyways, in the end, I did dismiss it for a few main reasons. Number one, big thing is, and this is going to sound like I'm just talking out of my rear, but it is 100% true. I did not want to leave one of my sons just on Android. I didn't want to, until he was wanting to decisively say I want to be an Android guy. He's still a little young. I didn't want to force him into being alienated. So I thought that was probably not the greatest thing. Was what if he says no, I don't want an iPhone, then that's one thing, but I didn't want him to be all alone there. But also, I do still think my Mac irritates me every day as far as navigation goes. I think that Apple, I don't know how people say it's intuitive. I know that I haven't been using them that long. I think
they don't anymore. Let's be fair. Modern iOS is not, modern Mac OS is not what it used to be.
And I think iOS, every time I have to support in-laws or parents or my wife, I think the menus, they don't make a lot of sense. Even when you search, they're all over the place as far as certain features go. They're buried. So I do think there's things that I like better on Android as far as the navigation goes. But the other big thing was at this point here, I would have to go basically all new accessories. I would definitely need a new watch, which I was not getting the smoking deal on a watch that I did get on the Galaxy one, or on the S25 Ultra and the watch. I would have needed full new GPS trackers because mine are not compatible with iPhone or iOS. I have a tablet that is fairly recent that is out of the ecosystem. Not a big deal, but it would be out of the ecosystem. And in reality, I think for the full Apple experience, I would have to start looking at things like converting my photo album to iCloud, and because I think that Apple photos have come a long way. They're phenomenal, but I think you kind of got to back. I have a lot of stuff in Google Photos, and for me to get the full experience, I would need to convert that. So there was a lot that I went into of, okay, these are all the things I'd have to do to switch over there. So I did decide that it was not the time to switch over to iOS, but it was really compelling. I do think that some of the cameras notes wise, I will say, I never have a concern really about the Apple cameras because they've proven time and time again that they'll do good videos and good photos. They are, I think, without a doubt, the leader in mobile phone videos. As far as those three go, Samsung, Google, and Apple. It's no contest. Google Google and Samsung are catching up. Google still has a lot of shake and shutter issues compared to the Samsung, and both of them just aren't anywhere near as crisp and clear as Apple. If you look up videos, it's a non-question at this point.
Well, this I'll say, and I don't know if you guys remember this or not. Maybe we weren't podcasting about it or not. When the solar eclipse occurred, the cameras that really captured it, you had to put the filter on it and everything. The cameras that were able to really capture it were the Droid cameras, were the Pixels and the Samsungs. The iPhones failed miserably for that. And I don't know if Droids pushed an update, because I had heard of that the Droids had pushed an update specifically for that to modify the back end of the sensor processing in order to capture the contrast and the different wavelengths better correctly for that or not. But I tried to take some pictures with my iPhone, and I did have the filter over it, and it was terrible. But the Droid pictures, like my son-in-law, he's got a Samsung Ultra, and I think it was a 23, and his pictures were fantastic.
Well, I am talking video. So the video, video is like the video is different than the photos. The video, I don't know about those niche cases, but from a day-to-day pulling it out, like my opinion matches that I've seen many times on these YouTube comparisons, is that Apple just continues to do a phenomenal job. I do think that it's a lot closer now than it was. One of the big things, though, video-wise, that between the Samsung and the Pixel that I really found different was that Samsung's really refined the zooming, the smoothness of the zooming. Google's way better now than it was before. In fact, the Pixel 10 does a better job of zooming between those lenses than the Pixel 9 even does. So, it's nice to see it all catching up. They all have their quirks for how they process photos, but my thoughts in comparison is I think that on the current version of the devices, I do think that Apple has taken the saturation crown. I think when I've seen the comparisons out there, I think that the current version of Apple, when you look at them, they are the most saturated out of the three. Maybe I'm an anomaly in thinking that, but I think when you look at colors, they sure are. I don't have concerns about that, though, because Apple is always good at pushing things out to tweak any criticisms people have about the camera. So I think as it stands, but they're all great. So that's why I wasn't super concerned about the camera, because they all have their strengths and their weaknesses. So camera was really a non-issue for me.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
So
between those three, anyways.
In the end, how you liking your Pixel 9 XL Pro?
I'm loving my Pixel 7 Fold. That's what I'm loving.
I'm loving my Note 7.
Boom. No. I am loving my Samsung Galaxy. You're making me doubt what it was. The Galaxy S25 Ultra. I am loving it, and I do because I do have the phone and the tablet and the smartwatch, so I'm all in the ecosystem. And the smartwatch, I do still think that the Galaxy smartwatch is still a little bit better. Like, I think it's got a few extra sensors over the Pixel. I don't love the look of the Pixel smartwatch. I go back and forth on how much I like it. I like it because it's like, oh, cool, it's unique. And then I go, I don't know if I like it. So I go back and forth, and that's a personal taste thing. That's just your personal preference. And so unfortunately, the Samsung watch, you have to have a Samsung to have all the features.
But I really hate the look of the 8 they changed the shape of the watch. It's not like a traditional round one. It's, what do they call it? The squickle or something like that. The
I
square
know.
circle combo. I do not like it.
The Watch 8, the Samsung Watch 8.
I just don't like it. Plus, they also changed it so that it doesn't work with any of the old bands anymore, too, or traditional watch bands. I'm like, you guys learned from Apple.
Oh, I didn't know they did that. Oh, of course they did.
Yeah.
Well, I enjoy hearing you go through your detailed pros and cons and your thought processes and why you chose one phone over the other, because you really have been looking and canvassing the field for a while. I know we just joked about you hating on Apple for a very long time, but you always have actually considered it. And then you've discounted it based on some factors, but you've considered it. So you've been consistent in that. And for my part, I have said, I don't care what ecosystem I'm in. I have been in Android before. I've been in iOS for a while, but the reason why I'm in iOS is for my sister. She has an iPad. That's how she calls me on FaceTime. She has an IQ 20. So it's not like I'm changing that. So I'm just going with what works. So I have to be in the iOS architecture. But I enjoy hearing about your decision tree and what's going on in the market, because eventually a lot of those things in the other phones come over to the iPhone and iOS and vice versa over time, right? So it does pay dividends to pay attention to the different brands and what's going on and that sort of thing. So I thank you for this every couple of year thing that you do. Because it keeps me interested in what, and both of you, like Chris with your Fold and Stephen with your wife's phone and stuff, because you go through it, and it's interesting with a friend listening to all of that, because I know you're not just, flaking out for, paying, whatever the reviewers do these days as paid advertisements for their quote unquote reviews, right?
Oh, I was sent this. No, I was not sent this. One thing that I will say, though, Chris, is that I really, really, really wanted to be a Fold buddy with you, but I just, they're too expensive for what I was wanting, and
I completely agree.
They just didn't meet my entire criteria, but I really wanted to, because every time I went and looked, I was like, oh, I'm jealous of Chris.
This is an experiment. The next phone I get will probably not fold, because I don't find myself unfolding it and using the screen that much. So I did my experiment for one generation. Now I've had this for about 1.5 years now, and it's running strong still. So I don't see any reason to just rotate it out. But I don't think the next phone will fold.
Chris, got a question for you. Since you've had a Fold, have you noticed other people that have had Folds, and what are they using it for when they're unfolding it? Have you noticed that at all?
So I've noticed it a little bit. Like I've talked about, for my purpose, a lot of it's to open up email or 2 apps side by side, or if when I take lunch, I'll open it to watch a YouTube video on a larger screen while I eat my lunch for 15-20 minutes. That's what I end up using it for. I have I actually heard a really good use case for it is the folks that are doing the HVAC repair for me. The guy who came to do the quote was asking me about it, and he goes, oh man, this would be great for me when it came to showing quotes in other systems to customers, because he goes, I wouldn't have to have a tablet, because I could just unfold my phone and have that stuff there. So I think there's use cases there. I think there's a lot of productivity use cases, but I go to an office, I have a computer, I do all of my work on that computer. I don't really have a lot of instances for productivity usage on here. I kind of did some experiments and did a trip a few months back where I did not bring my tablet. I just had my unfoldable phone and I was able to do everything I wanted. It was a nice size screen to open up and read some comics on and stuff like that. But it's a luxury thing. It's not a must-have thing. There's nothing there that I couldn't have done otherwise. It just would have been slightly inconvenient, maybe.
Okay, thanks.
I will say, in looking at all of this, if the cameras were better, I really would have been considering a Samsung Flip, because the same screen size when unflipped. And I just like the idea, like just as an experiment. I think it would be fun to be able to tuck it away. but I don't know, lacking hardware. So we'll see. Yeah, I think it's a novelty at this point.
Yeah, it certainly is.
The other thing I will throw out here before we wrap up here is in the chat. We've got Albert Sims. Hello, Albert. He's saying that he still buys the cheapest smartphone, don't need anything fancy. That was something I actually meant to throw in here, was that those cons that I had for the S23 Ultra, the problems I was having, were the screen was beginning to irritate me with how scuffed it was. And I definitely could have continued with that another year. I really could have. It was still holding up, but the cons just were frustrating me on a day-to-day perspective. So it's nice to see that a lot of the devices now, I think we're back to the point that you can push them out further. For a long time, things were changing so fast that you're really starting to get poor performance and whatnot when you weren't upgrading every couple of years. But
Sure.
It's nice to see that you can stretch them out further now.
So I've got a iPhone 14 Pro XL, and so it's 3 years old. We're on the 17 now, right? And I remember the conversations we were having a few years ago, and we all agreed that we're at that point where we don't feel like we need to upgrade. Well, I'm 3 years in, and I still haven't upgraded this. Now, the converse of that is I have noticed not a computing performance degradation, battery degradation. And I'm at the limit of the memory, so I need to go up in size of memory, and I need a new phone so that it would last a whole day and I don't have to plug it into the car or a brick or something like that along the way. So I am going to upgrade this. I was waiting for a time that I got paid, and I probably will be doing that in the next couple weeks, month or so. I don't know. It'll be sometime in the next couple of months. I will upgrade it because the battery is starting to be an issue for me. But if I would take it in to get a new battery and then continue to use it, I think it would be fine for another year or two, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Well, if you have bought a phone recently, or you have any questions, or you want to just chat with us about technology, come on over to the Tech and Gear channel in our Discord. We'd love to talk to you over there about that. And if you want to encourage SP to buy 3 phones the next time he upgrades, you should also come over there and tell him to do that. 4? Oh, Chris says 4.
4.
I was going to reach into my phone pile, but I decided not to.
So that's going to do it for another episode of the official GonnaGeek Show. If you did not hear us say this even a second ago, you should come to our Discord server. Definitely come there and chat with us. We will have the next episode information about what things are going to look like over December. I know we just got back, but definitely we'll be taking some time away during December because we all have very busy lives during December. Our kids calling us to, spend time with them, and kids, well, I guess they're in my house, so they just kind of shout for me. But for other people, they call them over and make them do all sorts of chores around their house. And for Chris, at some point, he's got to actually put pants on. So,
gosh,
I have pants on now.
Please.
But no,
I got Iron Man on them.
We will let you know next time what that looks like. And yeah, thanks for checking out the show. We appreciate that. We love talking geeky stuff, and we hope you will talk it with us. Anything that you guys want to throw in here?
No, thanks for listening. Really appreciate you guys sticking around for us, and we will be back again. I promise we're not going to go away. We will be back.
So for episode 419 of the official GonnaGeek Show, I'm Steven saying, oh, it's so nice to not have sharp corners on my phone.
MSP saying it doesn't matter. I have mine in a case.
I'm Chris, and I'm wearing GD pants.
Well, whose camera am I watching then? Bye!
That's SP's.
Oh, okay.
Not mine. Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the official GonnaGeek.com show. If you like the show, please give us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts or a thumbs up on YouTube. You can always join us for our live recording sessions at www.geeks.live. And remember, you can find our full back catalog at GonnaGeek.com/show. If you're itching for more geeky content, check out other shows on GonnaGeekNetwork.com. Voice work was by Emily Prokop of The Story Behind podcast. That's it for this episode. We hope to see you back again next show.